This section of the presentation focuses on our perspective of the challenges of strategy delivery, leading up to the polls that we're going to do later on in the session. So we need to set the scene as to what we mean by strategy and strategy delivery. This slide, figure 15, is taken straight out of our big body of knowledge. The starting point for strategy is our set of drivers on the left-hand side of the screen there. We've got our market influence, we've got the imposition of regulation, there's what customers want, what emerges in terms of legislation we have to adhere to, and the expectation of our key stakeholders and owners. All of this good stuff we need to mash together. And in BIG, our framework is to do that by using opportunities, threats, imperatives and goals. We then can take all of that stuff and review it and understand it and use it to drive our business purpose, to allow us to form our worldviews, to take on board the goals of our owners, the expectations from our stakeholders, and give us a reason to be. Give us a purpose for our organisation that we can drive everything towards. Talking of driving everything towards, to do that we need a strategy. We need a vision, a sequence, and a set of goals, a set of objectives and sub-objectives that'll help us get there. Hence, breaking down our strategy into objectives for change, challenges for innovation, and targets for business performance. We can't just achieve a strategy with change. We have to develop product, we have to develop assets, and we need to have our business perform. We can't have change on its own in a strategy. We'll need to deploy those through our organisation, crudely putting them into a change portfolio for strategic cross-functional change, a product portfolio where we're developing our products and services, and of course our business as usual operation where we're running the business. We need performance information out of these things so we can understand how we're doing, what risks are emerging and such like, so that we can also reevaluate the strengths and weakness of our organisation to contribute to our view of opportunities and threats. We may change our goals and the cycle begins. So this model is one of the key concepts in BIG that we use again and again, and we'd ask you to use. So how does the rubber hit the road? Well, if we've managed to go through our strategic process, we've listened and evaluated and formulated strategy, we can come up with an information model that allows us to share our objectives and sub-objectives with our business. And in fact, those objectives may be iterated as we develop them together. At some moment, we'll need to delegate those and hand those to people to respond to. And our targets, our business objectives may be pulled together into business plans which explain how we're going to meet those objectives and sub-objectives to carry out our, in this case, business as usual and any local change that we need to achieve that. And we'll define measures that allow us to track how well we're doing. So that sounds all very straightforward business management. Likewise, with our products and assets, we might have a roadmap for the products we want to develop or create or decommission, and we'll define objectives and sub-objectives for those with measures that allow us to track how well we're doing. Similarly, and what this group might be most familiar with is the change we delegate to our strategic change portfolio, which has a business case, sub-objectives, which we break down perhaps into projects and programs with their benefit expectations, their objectives and their milestones. This looks, even in a simple example, it's quite a bit to coordinate here. We need to prioritise the deployment of funds, leadership, time and resources between all these elements, because we don't necessarily have infinite funds, leadership, time or resources. There are dependencies between these things. So the outputs of a product creation process might then lead to a strategic change that enables us to deliver more business performance. So there are dependencies to manage, and that's done often through a whole array of people, lots of independent, disconnected processes, using separate tools that don't talk to each other, generating information that it's very difficult to pull together. So this is difficult. So the cascade of strategy delivery and the coordination of activities in response to that, the management dependencies and deployment of resource, it's not easy. And this is just for a simple model. Imagine if you're in a 3,000 or 4,000 person organization, this is going to get quite complex. So logically, looking at the models, it appears to be difficult, but in practice it's difficult too. The evidence from our own events and from the experience of others we've collected in some quotes here tells us that strategy delivery is difficult. It's not easy. I'll pluck out just one example. There's an organization called the National Association of Corporate Directors. I think it's a US-based organization, and it delivers a survey once a year and canvasses the directors and CEOs of its membership. And in this survey that I'm referring to here, it suggests that 70% of all the respondents rated strategy delivery and execution oversight as highly important or important board improvements. So it's not just us that think strategy delivery is difficult. There are respected bodies that are suggesting that strategy delivery needs to be improved. So we have a model for a strategic process, which you can read again in the big body of knowledge. We have looked at a framework for an organization and how it can cascade those objectives and sub-objectives throughout its structure, and that looks complicated and difficult to set up and manage. And we've got some evidence from various sources which suggests strategy delivery is difficult. But where are the areas of difficulty? Where might we look to discover our issues and solve the problems? There are many. In the big work that we've done, these are roughly the areas we've worked with people on. The first one there, clarity in communications, should be quite straightforward, making sure that strategy is clear and it's well communicated. The second one relates to cascade of objectives and sub-objectives and the establishment of clear accountability and their ongoing managing that accountability. There's prioritization and enablement. If objectives aren't prioritized, how do we decide where we deploy leadership time, funds and resources and make that commitment to an accountable person so they can be held fairly accountable whilst being enabled. The penultimate challenge there is around control, agility and integration. Can we keep on top of progress? Can we change our mind and pivot between things as priorities shift? And do we have all this joined together so that we can see impacts and choices very simply and clearly? And of course, underpinning all this, do we have the information capability and the data sources to allow us to make decisions quickly and easily? There are many challenges that we need to address. So let's explore what your experiences are in some of these areas.